traveling through the world of science and studying at Didan Elementary School. As a traveler, Hang Sheng has no ambition. Whether it's salted fish or lying flat, he just wants to live a peaceful life with peace of mind. But that four-eyed child, the walking god of death, is destined to be unavoidable. Just thinking about the strength of the distillery makes Hang Sheng feel a bit scared. Since that's the case, then give this world a little scientific shock. Natural science, deductive reasoning. With the help of its omnipotent technological invention ability, Hang Sheng has brought shock to the world time and time again. I dare not boast, but Hang Sheng thinks it's okay to claim to be a little grey wolf in the world of Kushue. Conan pushed his eyes and said, "Hang Sheng, what exactly did you do? Can you talk about science?" Hang Sheng. No, this is Kushue. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. 1. Crossing the world of science and technology. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My mom, the frog is here again, it's so annoying. Hang Sheng suddenly let out a roar in his ear. He instinctively lifted his head and saw a large flat-bottomed pot rushing towards him. It's done. Hang Sheng woke up from a nightmare in an instant. This is already the 2734th time he has had this dream. Who? Hang Sheng, who had just escaped from the nightmare, gasped for breath as the frying pan flew faster than supersonic, frightening the baby to death. Hang Sheng, have you had that nightmare again? The speaker is a cute little girl named Bumei Yoshida, who is Hang Sheng's desk mate. Bumei looked at Hang Sheng with a worried expression. Hang Sheng always had nightmares, which were no longer a secret among a few friends. Before Hang Sheng could answer, the teacher on the podium walked down and gently warned, "Hang Sheng, remember to cover your clothes when you sleep and don't catch a cold." The eyes of the whole class suddenly focused on Hang Sheng, with envy, jealousy, and hatred in their eyes. Sleeping in class can still be so cared for by the teacher, which is what the famous genius Hang Sheng can do. Hang Sheng nodded obediently, and the teacher saw that he was not in any big trouble, so he returned to the podium to continue his lecture. As soon as the other people's attention shifted, Hang Sheng immediately breathed a sigh of relief and collapsed on the table like a salted fish. The sunlight outside the window shone on him, and everything seemed so peaceful and beautiful. It would be even better if this girl around me is not named Fukumi Yoshida. As a traveler and a person who has died once, Hang Sheng does not have the lofty ideals of crossing the sky, earth, and air of his predecessors. He just wants to live his little life leisurely. The biggest pleasure of aviation students now is pretending to be good students and teasing little girls when they have free time. Perhaps due to time travel, Hang Sheng feels that his IQ is not even a little stronger than his previous life. He worked hard in his previous life to get a PhD, but now reading international papers is a piece of cake. He is confident that he can barely publish a paper. But Hang Sheng doesn't want to be high-profile, he would rather be a quiet elementary school student in silence. Firstly, childhood is the most beautiful memory of life, and who wouldn't want to revisit it again? Besides, Hang Sheng glanced at the acquaintances around him, including Bumei Yoshida, Motoda Kojima, and Mitsuhiko Uentani, and couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Isn't this just Didan Elementary School? Hang Sheng guessed that this was the world of Detective Conan, except for the dead little ghost called Conan. As soon as he thought of Conan, who was known as the reincarnation of the god of death, or the Death Elementary School student, Hang Sheng suddenly wilted and had no motivation. If one day his death halo would expand to your home, then it would be okay. The most deadly thing is that the members of the black organization's distillery have infiltrated every aspect of Japanese society, and Hang Sheng is even more afraid to expose himself. A genius scientist like Shiba Miyano will end up working for a distillery for the rest of his life, with little human rights to speak of. Ah! Hang Sheng sighed again, why is it so difficult? Not only are nightmares haunting me, but I also have to be classmates with a death god in the future. Life is not easy. He casually pulled out a newspaper from the drawer, and the front page headlines of various industries were all under the name of Kudo Shinichi. The entertainment section was also full of his name, as if the entire Japan was owned by the Kudo Shinichi family. High school detective Shinichi Kudo perfectly solves a serial murder case. There is always only one truth. Shinichi Kudo, Detective Shinichi Kudo. Sherlock Holmes from the Heisei era, known as the savior of the Japanese police. Seeing the media praising Shinichi Kudo so much, Hang Sheng looked helpless. Although his reasoning was indeed powerful, did he need to repeat it every time he published it in the newspaper? Hang Sheng carefully flipped through the newspaper, hoping to find some news that interested him, and soon came across an article. Shocked. The frequent murders at Dorobika Park, the Japanese savior once again, and the mastermind behind the scenes is. Isn't this editor a UC graduate? The student put down the newspaper and roast, but his face was not very good looking. He remembered yesterday when Bumei and Guan Yen invited him to the park to play. He was busy cleaning his room but couldn't go. Now it seems that the park they are referring to is Dorobika Park, and Kudo Shinichi had already become Conan last night. This means that the wheel of fate begins to turn, and the peaceful life in the future can be considered the end. Are you here? Hang Sheng murmured to himself, feeling mixed in his heart. When he found out that this was Conan's world, he did want to escape from Didan Elementary School and stay away from that death school student. But soon he gave up. He was just a little kid under 7 years old and had no ability to persuade his parents to leave this city. Moreover, compared to the unknown future, Hang Sheng prefers to control everything. Although Conan's world is full of crises, he can be considered a prophet, and be careful, he can still live a peaceful life. Hang Sheng felt fortunate in his heart. Fortunately it was Conan's world. Even if one died in each episode, at most there would be over 300 people in a year, and only over 3,000 in 10 years. If it were Dragon Ball World, Hang Sheng would have been desperate long ago. It would be the rhythm of punching one planet at a time and the notorious destructive power of Max. 2. The Worries of Scholars. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This lazy and comfortable day of sunbathing is probably gone forever. Hang Sheng suddenly leaned onto the table again, enjoying his last leisurely time. Ding-ling-ling. The school bell rang, and Hang Sheng suddenly bounced up from his seat. His classmates around him also packed their backpacks and prepared to go home. Bumei has already tidied up everything, and Guanyan and Yuan Tai have also come over. Hang Sheng, yesterday really scared the baby. Bumei told Hang Sheng about her terrifying experience of encountering a body in the park yesterday, which was the first time they had seen a dead person. By the way, Hang Sheng, it's too bad you didn't go yesterday. Guess who I saw? It's the Japanese savior Shinichi Kudo. Guan Yen excitedly said, he was so handsome when he was reasoning. He also learned the way Kudo Shinichi looked and pointed at Moto, saying loudly, there is only one truth. Moto, you must have eaten eel rice yesterday. This is not fair, Yuan Tai exclaimed defiantly. Yesterday, the three of us were together, and you saw everything I ate. Guanyan, why don't you reason about what I will eat tomorrow? This. Guanyan scratched his head, unable to reason for a moment. What else can we eat? It must still be eel rice is the best in the world. Yuan Tai confidently said. Hang Sheng was amused by the two of them, and Yuan Tai was still like a living treasure, not worrying at all. Hey, how about everyone come to my house to play later? There are delicious things and toys. Bumei warmly invited. Guanyan and Yuan Tai glanced at each other and said in unison, great. Hang Sheng, isn't your home in another direction? As he left the school gate, Hang Sheng took the opposite path. Guan Yen was a bit puzzled. Although he hadn't been to Hang Sheng's house, he still knew the general direction of going to and from school together every day. Don't worry, it'll be there in a minute. Hang Sheng waved his small hand, telling them not to worry. After walking for a while, 4 people came to a house and Hang Sheng took out the key to open the door and walked in. "Hang Sheng, have you moved?" Bu Mei, who followed in curiously, asked. Guanyan looked around and found that everything in the room was very new. "It doesn't seem like Hang Sheng's house, right? Look, it looks like it's never been there before, and there are still some places that have fallen into dust." "Yeah, I was a bit tired cleaning alone yesterday, maybe I didn't clean up properly." Hang Sheng picked up a bunch of snacks from the cabinet and placed them on the table. "I bought this house, and will gather here in the future. This is our secret base." "How did you do it?" Now not only Bu Mei, but even Guanyan was shocked, and even Yuan Tai, who had been staring at snacks, opened her mouth wide. "This is too exaggerated, isn't it?" "Yeah, Hang Sheng, don't you have to be an adult to buy a house? I asked the doctor to help me buy it, but it's always inconvenient to gather at home. In the future, everyone will have their own private space, and this is our headquarters." The 3 of them suddenly realized that Hang Sheng and a person named Doctor often corresponded, and they knew about this. After a moment of surprise, they quickly excitedly explored the base of this future gathering. Hang Sheng leaned against the sofa and watched them quietly. He was exhausted from tidying up the house yesterday. Buying this house is twofold. Firstly, to reduce contact between family members and the deaf school student, secondly, to create a secret base for oneself. As for the doctor, he is naturally Dr. Aguri. As Conan's behind-the-scenes support, Hang Sheng still has some understanding of Dr. Aguri's character, and the 2 quickly became pen friends. Of course, Dr. Aguri was unaware that he had been chatting with a 7-year-old child all along. I don't know if Dr. Aguri would doubt life if he found himself chatting with elementary school students all the time. Although Hang Sheng has always hidden his talents, it doesn't mean he can't do anything. Making a little money is a piece of cake for him. After all, his current level of technology is 30 years behind his previous life. Speaking of it, Hang Sheng couldn't help complaining about the unlucky timeline. He never looked at the calendar. Anyway, Monday is Friday, and January is September. The thought of going to 1st grade in elementary school for the next 20 years made Hang Sheng feel bad. But Hang Sheng also has no intention of going against the timeline. To outsiders, isn't that just a mental illness? Since it can't be changed, let's join. Hang Sheng chose to compromise, but it doesn't affect his ability to make money. Money is always better than no money. Look at those distilleries in the black organization, don't they also work hard for money? Hang Sheng casually pointed out several small inventions to Dr. Agai, and made a large profit by selling patents, all of which were recorded under Dr. Agai's name. Whenever he thinks of his mother's nagging, Hang Sheng feels a headache. If he lets her know about this money, he may not be able to save a penny. Just think about the fate of New Year's money back then. Mom will save it for you first, and when you grow up, marry a wife. Okay, in the 1st grade of elementary school, I have to go on for 20 years. When I grow up, I don't know how long it will take. So it's better to hide it obediently. Men don't hide hundreds of thousands of private money on their bodies, and they have no confidence in doing things. Having a small vault is different. Hang Sheng, I have a good idea. Guan Yan ran down the stairs excitedly, seeming to have already turned the house around. 3. The Superpowers of Aviation Students. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What's the idea? Asked the student curiously. Guan Yan didn't answer directly, but waved at Bu Mei and Yuan Tai and shouted, "You 2 come over too. There's something big to announce. Come on." Bu Mei and Yuan Tai also came down from upstairs and gathered at the table with Guan Yan. Hang Sheng raised his hand and said, "Please start your performance." Guan Yan excitedly said, "Do you remember our dreams?" As he gestured strangely, Bu Mei and Yuan Tai also made strange postures. Hang Sheng suddenly had an ominous premonition, and as expected, the three of them shouted in unison, "Young detective team." Hang Sheng slapped his forehead, which was too embarrassing. He knew that the three of them had always wanted to be detectives and form a detective team, but shouldn't it be after Conan arrived? To be honest, it's all because of Kudo Shinichi's daily newspaper coverage, his arrogant demeanor, coupled with media hype, that has indeed influenced many people, and Kohiko and his team are among the representatives. We have always wanted to form a detective team, but now that Hang Sheng has provided a base, let's officially establish it today. Guanyen explained, "Hang Sheng, why don't you also join us? We can definitely solve a big case and make headlines." Bu Mei and Yuan Tai looked at Hang Sheng eagerly. The most famous figure in Didan Elementary School is none other than Hang Sheng. Who makes him the only student who can still be spoiled by the teacher while sleeping in class. His classmates envy him too late. If Hang Sheng is brought into the youth detective team, their fame in Didan Elementary School will definitely rise, and there will definitely be a group of people rushing to join the team. Ha! Hang Sheng sneered. If it weren't for Conan's several desperate attempts to save them, the youth detective team would have been wiped out countless times. But looking at the resolute eyes of the three children in front of him, Hang Sheng couldn't pour cold water on them. After all, this is a young boy's dream. Forget it, Hang Sheng sighed. Let's be childish. Although I am an adult psychologically, I am still a primary school student, right? When chatting with adults, we are often treated as children. It's better to play with them and take care of ourselves in case something happens. Besides, these little ones are quite caring and have a sense of justice, they are some good kids. Even Conan and Ashihara quite approve of them. I said, isn't the name of the youth detective team a bit tacky? Why don't we call it the Victory Team instead? Hang Sheng suggested, but he couldn't accept such a second-year team name. Bu Mei, Guanyen, and Yuan Tai looked at each other. While it was a good thing that Hang Sheng was willing to join, the name Victory Team was also too strange, wasn't it? Watching the three children looking bewildered, Hang Sheng finally realized. There is no Ultraman in this world. Without Brother Guang, there would naturally be no victorious team. What's wrong with this? I can't tell them the story of Digia Ultraman, can I? Hang Sheng had a headache, listening to others' stories and seeing them were always different things. If only there were Digia Ultraman in this world, the airline muttered. As soon as he finished speaking, his eyes lit up and his head was dazed. What's going on? Hang Sheng quickly shook his head. It's over, I'm so young I shouldn't have any illness, right? Conan's aura of death is so powerful that I suffered before he even came. What's wrong with Hang Sheng? Bu Mei watched as he shook his head wildly, looking skeptical. Could it be some ancient ritual? Yuan Tai thought for a moment and said, it's like a primitive tribe. Hang Sheng's face turned black after listening. He was indeed a primary school student, didn't he see that I was sick? He was about to explain when a bunch of drawings suddenly came to his mind, which confused him. What's going on? Why do so many playful thoughts come to mind out of nowhere? Hang Sheng was shocked to find that although these drawings looked somewhat incomprehensible, he seemed to know how to do them. How about giving it a try? Hang Sheng touched his chin, feeling a strong impulse in his heart. A warm current surged through his right hand, and a hammer condensed from his palm. Hang Sheng looked at the hammer in his hand, feeling completely confused. Could it be that he had made a mistake while traveling through the wrong world? This place shouldn't be Dolua continent, is this hammer Haotian hammer? The impulse in his heart was still there, and Hang Sheng stared at the TV in the living room, his eyes emitting a strange green light. Bang dang, bang dang. The hammer hit repeatedly, causing the TV to turn from black to white under the relentless beating of the aircraft. The complete body was scattered into a series of parts. The youth detective team was so frightened that they huddled in the corner, trembling. Hang Sheng's hands were flying fast, as if out of control, breaking down the TV into thousands of parts and assembling it with steel-like hands. In the blink of an eye, the TV returned to its original state. After finishing all of this, Hang Sheng collapsed on the ground. After a while, Guang Yan and the others walked out trembling. Hang Sheng's eyes closed tightly, and the hammer in his hand disappeared. Hang Sheng, are you okay? Bu Mei suppressed her fear and gently shook him, afraid that Hang Sheng might have some strange illness. It's amazing. Guan Yan touched the intact TV, which had just been dismantled by Hang Sheng into countless pieces, with densely packed parts covering the ground. That's amazing. That's a parallel universe observation machine. The astronaut rubbed his head and stood up groggily, explaining. 4. What is the most annoying thing about spoilers? You are listening at novel full.audio. Just as he was unconscious, he had that damn nightmare again. A giant frying pan flying at supersonic speed, which had been over 2,000 times. But this time, Hang Sheng can control his body. He quickly looked in the mirror and saw a familiar figure inside. An upright gray wolf with a hat with yellow patches on its head, a yellow scarf hanging around its neck, a missing piece in its left ear, and a missing upper left tooth. Isn't this the legendary Big Bad Wolf? No wonder there is a supersonic frying pan in my dream. Hang Sheng touched the TV in front of him and couldn't help but marvel. This is the legendary one-shot to conquer the world. That's really amazing. What is a parallel universe observation machine? Guan Yan asked curiously. I knew that a parallel universe is a universe that is very similar to ours. Different choices made by humans lead to different results. Hang Sheng thought to himself, although this explanation may be a bit unreliable, a primary school student with this insight is already very impressive. This observation machine can watch TV dramas and anime in parallel universes, with 10,000 different endings, and it's never afraid of ending up unfinished. I can help you find Didan Ultraman, which has the history of the Victory Team. It's definitely the best TV drama in the world. No, the Kamen Rider is the best. Yuan Tai retorted, there's nothing more beautiful than the Kamen Rider, and Godzilla can't match it either. I can directly watch the ending of the Kamen Rider, there are hundreds more. Hang Sheng chuckled and began to adjust the channel. What is Kamen Rider? Didan Ultraman is the real big brother. Really? Yuan Tai's eyes lit up. You should know that now the Kamen Rider had only played a few games, which touched the hearts of countless boys. If we could know the ending in advance, then the capital to boast would be sufficient. As Didan Ultraman's familiar theme song sounded, the three children were all focused on staring at the TV. Hang Sheng sat silently at the back, pondering the strange thing that happened today. Why did he keep dreaming of a frying pan for so many years? Can it be that Grey Wolf chased a sheep for half his life and was eventually knocked to death by Red Wolf, and then he became his reincarnation? Why is this idea so outrageous? And what about this parallel universe observation machine? It completely does not conform to science, but it is quite in line with science. Hang Sheng recalled the inexplicable data that appeared in his mind, and the more he thought about it, the more strange it became. He felt as if he could create another observation plane. But it's a bit illogical to think that it can be made with just a hammer and parts can be processed with both hands, right? Whether it's reasonable or not, a black cat or a white cat, catching a mouse is a good cat. Hang Sheng decided not to dwell on it, after all, this is his superpower. And it's still that adult's superpower. As soon as he thought of this, Hang Sheng suddenly felt much more relaxed. He had been worried about the Black Organization and Conan's deadly Reaper aura before. Now, it depends on whether he is happy or not. He wants to turn the distillery into a fake distillery. As for the Grim Reaper. I haven't seen what the Grim Reaper looks like yet. How about we bring one back to study and taste it? Hang Sheng's eyes flickered as he slowly got up and walked towards the kitchen, wanting to see if his superpower was reliable. Entering the kitchen, he looked around for a suitable target. As a Chinese food enthusiast, he has long had enough of Japanese cuisine. With superpowers, it's time to improve your diet. How about getting a gourmet tablecloth? Hang Sheng placed his hand on the kitchen tablecloth, imagining the appearance of the gourmet tablecloth in his mind, and a dizzying sensation hit him. Oh no, Hang Sheng quickly let go and the dizziness gradually disappeared. He leaned against the wall and slowly moved, feeling a wave of nausea churning in his stomach. It seems that my superpower is related to my mental state. I just finished building a parallel universe observation machine and wanted to make a delicious tablecloth. It's a bit rushed. Hang Sheng, come and see, this giant is too powerful. Bu Mei pointed to the TV and shouted. It seems like he's so much more handsome than the Cayman rider. Yuan Tai stared at the screen intently, not even bothering to eat snacks. Even Guanyan defected and said, I'll vote for the victory team. Let's call it the victory team in the future, right? Hang Sheng suddenly had a wicked taste. I am so uncomfortable now, why should I let you all be so happy and feel the pain of the world together? The giant's name is Diga Ultraman, he defeated all the monsters, and then died. Hang Sheng. 3 pairs of eyes immediately fixed on him. Spoilers or something. I hate it the most. Beat him up. I was wrong, can't I still do it? Help me. Di Jia won't die. The next morning. Hang Sheng, why did you wake up so early today? Hang Sheng's mother Lena asked curiously. Although the sun is rising high outside, it's only 6 o'clock. Hang Sheng, this lazy person, usually only gets up at 8 o'clock and spends half a day at home before going to school. Lena joked, Xiaoheng, is there a little girl you like in school? That's really interesting. Hang Sheng rolled his eyes helplessly, too lazy to pay attention to her. This mother is chattering incessantly. 5. Make yourself a little white mouse. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. I have something else to talk about, let's go. Okay, be careful on the way, Lena thought to herself with relief. Her son is exceptionally talented, just someone else's child. He is not only smart, but also very sensible. Hang Sheng's parents never mind too much and are quite open-minded about his affairs, not interfering much. This husky was given to Hang Sheng as a birthday gift by his father before he went on a business trip abroad, and he liked it because it was lively and lively. Thor is the name given to it by the airline, after all, Thor, the god of thunder, is too famous. Only Toll barked twice. It was an ordinary dog barking in his mother's ear, but the pilot understood. I want 2 ham sausages. That's right, aviation students have had the talent to talk to animals since childhood, but their intelligence is limited and they rarely communicate for long periods of time. Hang Sheng didn't consider this as a superpower either. In his opinion, understanding how animals speak is not important at all. Their brains are not enough, making it difficult to complete difficult movements. Unless undergoing long-term training, aviation students do not have this leisure time. Now, upon careful consideration, the ability to communicate with animals may have been inherited from Grey Wolf. After all, Grey Wolf is actually a wolf, and it seems quite scientific for animals to communicate with each other. Yes, I can understand dogs talking, it's very scientific. Transaction. Hang Sheng readily agreed. What is a mere 2 ham sausages for a man with several 100,000 yuan in private money? The pilot nodded with satisfaction. Just as he was about to go out, his mother chased him out with a box in his hand. What's the rush? I've forgotten my lunchbox. Looking at the bulging bento box, Hang Sheng's eyes jumped. He is a child now. Every time, he fills a big box with his mother. It is called, children grow up and eat more. But the airline students always think that his mother is using himself as a mouse to practice cooking. This bento is just stronger than dark cuisine and can barely be swallowed. However, today the airline student still has a helper who can share his worries. Hang Sheng turned his gaze to Thor, who knew that as soon as the dog saw the bento box, it immediately plopped and lay down pretending to be dead. This dog is also too clever. It's so playful that it even pretends to be dead, and its ears are trembling. Hang Sheng roused in his heart and kicked Toll with his little foot. Mom, do you think Thor's not doing well? How about we stew it tonight and have dog meat hot pot? I haven't eaten dog meat for a long time. Thor, who was lying dead just now, instantly bounced up and wildly wagged his tail, circling around Lena's leg. Lena comforted Thor and stuffed the bento into the small bag on his back. Thor's 4 short legs almost couldn't hold up at once. Hang Sheng, do you think Thor is becoming smarter and more human-like? Lena asked suspiciously. Help me, Grandpa, don't want ham sausages, let me go. Thor trembled all over and looked pitifully at Hang Sheng. Hang Sheng couldn't help but chuckle, it's a bit human. After all, I can understand what it says. In terms of intelligence, I have been communicating and teaching it for a year, and have developed a lot. Mom, you're mistaken. Don't all dogs look like this now? Isn't it Thor? Asked Hang Sheng. Thor nodded vigorously. Lena scratched her head and said, am I too sensitive? It doesn't seem like there's anything abnormal either. I've gone to school, let's not say any more. Hang Sheng opened the door and walked towards the school, with Thor following closely behind. Although it's only 6 o'clock in the morning, the sunlight has already shone on the earth. Hang Sheng walked leisurely with his hands behind his head, whistling. Behind Hang Sheng, Thor walked on short legs, carrying a heavy burden that was not appropriate for his age, and chased him out of breath, his little tongue almost dragging to the ground. Hang Sheng quietly pondered the days ahead. Since the creation of the parallel universe observation machine yesterday, Bume, Mitsuhiko, and Mototaka have been chasing after Diga Ultraman until 10 p.m. If it weren't for the airline's reminder, the 3 of them might have stayed up all night watching and would have been scolded when they got home. But this cannot change a fact. The youth detective team disbanded just 1 day after its establishment and was replaced by the Victory Team. Defending world peace and upholding justice is the slogan of the Victory Team. Although a bit of a sophomore, Hang Sheng believes that all these futures can be realized. After all, he is the heir of that adult. That adult is the strongest, capable of doing anything except for not being able to eat the sheep from Xianjiang village and not producing small ashes. He can build a spaceship with just a hammer. As for why we can't eat the sheep from the sheep village, those sheep are not just simple characters who can easily cheat. Build an aircraft carrier in minutes, pull out a cannon from your pants, never die or die, and activate armor at any time, with 10,000 teleportations. Are you afraid of such a terrifying existence? Although Hang Sheng cannot compare to the realm of Grey Wolf, he is already invincible with all his abilities. If you have the ability to call Pleasant Goat to work for me, it's not enough to rely on that distillery. Death. Believe it or not, I'll create an instrument to catch the Grim Reaper and treat him like a monkey. That thing is much rarer than pandas. Perhaps I should study weapons and improve my survival ability. Hang Sheng decided to be cautious first, not to be indecent in development, and to wear all the equipment before proceeding. Of course, the most important thing now is to solve the problem of eating. 6. Food Maker. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hang Sheng doesn't want to harm his mother's cooking anymore, the craftsmanship is really average. To change all of this, start with food. Thor stumbled and finally reached his destination, collapsing to the ground and rolling his eyes. It's really a big loss to walk so far for a ham sausage. Hang Sheng opened the door and casually carried Thor and his backpack into the room. Upon seeing the new environment, Thor was so excited that he broke free from the pilot and ran around the house. Don't gnaw on things randomly, otherwise it will stew you. Hang Sheng warned fiercely. Huskies love to demolish their homes the most. If it weren't for the aviation production management this year, Thor would have demolished their homes to pieces. Bored, Tolton lost interest when he heard that he wouldn't let the house be demolished. It thought its new home could do as it pleased, but the result was the same as before. Come and sit down. Hang Sheng found a basin from the kitchen and placed 3 or 4 sausages in front of Thor. Thor licked his lips, but dared not take a bite, still vigilantly staring at Hang Sheng. Although I don't know what this kid is up to, based on this year's experience, every time a student tries to trick themselves, they will show such a strange smile. This ham sausage is definitely a trap. Thor forced himself not to look, but still couldn't resist licking his lips again. How fragrant. Thor, I usually treat you well, right? Let's talk about ham sausages, even if it's only one, I'll give you half. Now I'm in a difficult situation, you need to help me. Hang Sheng earnestly advised. Thor rolled his eyes. It's not certain who stinks and doesn't want to be shameless. He always steals his own food. Even though I have a ham sausage, I insist on secretly breaking half of it and fooling myself with the other half. You really treat me like a silly dog. How about you help me get rid of some of the bento boxes at noon? So the trap is here. Thor shook his head decisively. Lena's bento was so bad that there was no better ham sausage to eat. Humph. As soon as Hang Sheng left, Thor still didn't dare to act rashly. After a while, it suddenly jumped down, picked up the basin and wolfed it down. 2 small claws are grabbing the ham sausage and fiercely nibbling on it, and if you eat it in your stomach, it's your own. On the other hand, Hang Sheng also fell into contemplation. He almost fainted while making delicious tablecloths yesterday. Today he tried to make a delicious tablecloth again, but no matter what he thought, his mind was completely blank. What is the principle behind food tablecloths? The more Hang Sheng thought about it, the more he felt his brain ache and he had no idea at all. What's the use of making a few pieces of tablecloths, but not making them into delicious food? Alas, this gourmet tablecloth doesn't teach much about science, and it's really stumping a great scholar of science. Hang Sheng couldn't help but have a sudden idea. He couldn't make a gourmet tablecloth, so why not build a gourmet manufacturing machine? As long as I want, I can do it. This is the invincibility of Grey Wolf Lord. Hang Sheng locked his gaze on the rice cooker, pressed his right hand on the lid, and silently thought to himself. A machine that can automatically make delicious food. Suddenly, a wonderful feeling surged in my heart, and a flash of inspiration flashed through my mind, revealing the construction diagram of the food manufacturing machine. He raised his right hand high, and a hammer appeared out of thin air in his hand. With just a few clicks, the rice cooker was easily modified by Hang Sheng. Although there hasn't been much change in appearance, the internal structure has undergone earth-shattering changes. Ding dong, food manufacturing machine, the same model as Luangxing, produced by Xiadangjia, you deserve it. Hang Sheng quickly completed the project. He was about to experiment, but found that the kitchen was empty. The house he cleaned the day before yesterday had no ingredients. Suddenly, he noticed the bento given by his mother and couldn't help but chuckle. Who said cooked ingredients are not considered ingredients anymore? Hang Sheng poured all the dishes from the bento into the food maker and slammed the lid on it. After a few clicks, the machine twisted and then quieted down. Hang Sheng lifted the lid and a strong aroma wafted out in an instant. He couldn't help but take a deep breath. Who could resist this smell? The oil aroma blends the flavors of various spices and ingredients, perfectly intertwined over time, becoming a captivating aroma. Even if Hang Sheng is not a foodie, he still feels the deliciousness of the food. What are you waiting for? He was already hungry, and his appetite was stimulated by the tempting aroma. Hang Sheng held the pot and ate it in big gulps. My mom, I used to eat pig food before. He cried as he ate, realizing that this was the taste of happiness. This rich and tempting aroma slowly drifted from the kitchen to the living room under the gentle breeze. Thor smelled the deliciousness in the air and the ham sausage in his mouth fell to the ground with a clatter, completely unaware. I saw it stand up on its hind legs, following the scent and touching the kitchen, watching Hang Sheng wolf down. Thor couldn't resist any longer and immediately rushed forward, hugging Hang Sheng's thigh. "Grandpa, I'm also hungry. Please give me a bite." Hang Sheng woke up from his intoxication with delicious food, glanced at the pitiful Thor, pointed to the living room and sneered, "Who was eating ham sausages happily just now? It seems that Mom made the bento, and I can only eat it alone in pain and happiness," said Hang Sheng, shedding tears as he took a few bites. 7. Handsome enough to have no friends. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I was wrong, sir. I was really wrong. Upon hearing that Lena had made the bento, Tortun was dumbfounded and felt like he had missed 1 billion. But there's no way, it's just too fragrant. Thor began to roll on the ground and play pranks. Hang Sheng is also very helpless. This Thor is such a virtue, with thick skin. Alright, bring your bowl and share some with you." Thor immediately jumped up from the ground and sprinted for 100 meters towards the living room. Looking at the bowl with only one ham sausage left, Thor looked disgusted and slapped his intestines away. "Is this junk still food for dogs? That's too cruel to dogs, isn't it?" Thor ran back to Hang Sheng with an empty bowl in his mouth, and Hang Sheng shared a portion of the delicious food in the pot. Thor ate big mouthfuls, and as he ate, he shed tears of happiness. "Compared to this, I used to eat dog food before." Hang Sheng was not idle either, sitting on the ground with one person and one dog, wolfing down the delicious food from the world. Soon, Hang Sheng was full of food, feeling pain and happiness as he leaned against the door, holding his stomach in both hands. Thor followed suit, with his hind legs stretched out, his front paws resting on his belly, and his eyes almost rolling up to the sky. "I was careless, I shouldn't have eaten so much." Hang Sheng regretted deeply. Mom's bento is a big portion, with only 2 meals in the morning. He accidentally overeated it. "It's so refreshing, I feel like I can have another bowl." Thor sighed. "Me too," the airline student agreed. "It's so comfortable." Hang Sheng touched his stomach and leaned against the wall with satisfaction, feeling full of happiness and lazily unwilling to move. "It would be great if everything would continue like this in the future," Thor said as he studied aviation and put on a Guyu paralysis. Idiotic thoughts. Hang Sheng shook his head helplessly and looked at the food-making machine with a hint of sadness. Eating such delicious food and then eating the rice cooked by his mother feels like it's taking his life. "No, I must change everything." Hang Sheng thought angrily, "I want to overthrow my mother's dictatorship of the dark cuisine empire. I refuse to eat dark cuisine. Although the food my mother cooked was not too bad, the taste was just that, not comparable to the despairing dark cuisine of Fei Yingli. But nothing fears comparison." Since tasting the delicious dishes of Lu Angxing's Little Master brand, Hang Sheng silently classified his mother's cuisine as dark cuisine in his heart. From today on, there are only 2 types of cuisine in the world. One is called gourmet food, produced by Hang Sheng's food-making machine, another type is collectively known as dark cuisine. But when he thought of his mother's crooked personality, Hang Sheng became worried again. How could he persuade her to give up her cooking? Soon, Hang Sheng had an idea and couldn't help but chuckle as he looked at the food-making machine. What is the way to deal with fear? Hang Sheng scratched his head and forgot that sentence for a moment. But it's okay, he remembers another famous saying. Only magic can defeat magic. Let my mom taste the delicious food made by the food machine, and I estimate she will soon sweep her dishes into the trash. From now on, Hang Sheng and Thor can live a happy life. Well, how do you feel? Like this scene is a bit eerie. Hang Sheng rubbed his chin, unable to figure out what was wrong, so he decided not to ponder. He embarked on a journey of making delicious food. The first step in making delicious food is to find ingredients. Looking around the kitchen, there was nothing in the vast space. Finally, Hang Sheng's gaze fell on the bento box. Half a box of white rice, with no vegetable leaves left on top, the snow-white grains are particularly eye-catching. Hang Sheng couldn't help but twitch at the corner of his mouth. It's really difficult for a clever woman to cook without rice. How can we make delicious food without ingredients? But this didn't deter Hang Sheng. He quickly came up with a solution and expressionlessly picked up the lunchbox. The second step in cooking is to turn on the food-making machine. Step 3, throw the ingredients in. Hang Sheng poured all the remaining rice from the bento box into the food machine. I remember a top food critic once said that high-end ingredients often only require the most simple cooking methods. He also said that top-tier cuisine often only requires the simplest ingredients. Step 4, close the lid and wait patiently. After a few clicks, the food machine turned around and became quiet. Hang Sheng couldn't wait to lift the lid, and the aroma that rushed over his face instantly woke up the craving bug that had just eaten and slept in. But he held back and slowly put the prepared food back into the lunchbox, sealing the lid. Although the food is good, one cannot eat too much. Hang Sheng patted his plump belly and didn't want to become the first time in history that he had to eat to death. Going to school, glanced at the time, almost late, and the student quickly tidied up. Thor, don't gnaw on things, wait for me to come back from school. Thor weakly waved his small paw and continued to make his Guyu paralyzed. He was eating too much. Hang Sheng ran desperately, thanks to the fact that the house was not far from the school. He just stepped on the bell and rushed into the classroom, sliding gracefully onto his seat. This set of operations is so smooth that it's so handsome that there are no friends. But after the student sat down, the teacher didn't come in for a while. Hey, I'm so carefree, why doesn't anyone appreciate me? Hang Sheng, good morning. Bu-mei secretly lowered her head and asked mysteriously, do you know why our teacher hasn't come yet? 8. Youth Detective Team Gathering. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I don't know. It's just that you girls love gossiping, I don't have this idle mind. Isn't it that the teacher was late? As for being so curious. Hang Sheng murmured silently in his heart. Come a little later, according to your brainpower, teachers and children should all use soy sauce. We may have new classmates in our class, but the teacher is busy with this matter, so it will be later than usual, Bu-mei said. Bu-mei, how did you know there were new classmates? Yuan Tai suddenly said, startling Hang Sheng. Yeah, where did you hear that? Guanyan also stared curiously at Bu-mei. It's not important, Bu-mei. Did you see if the new classmate is a boy or a girl? Hang Sheng smiled and apologized for his previous thoughts. It turned out that the boy was also curious about gossip. Watching the way Mrs. Yuan and Guanyan stretched their necks, Hang Sheng finally understood why the young detective group is always called Young Death Squad by Roast. This curiosity is not enough to kill cats, it can also kill a group of elementary school students. Hee, I just went to the teacher's office, Bu-mei mischievously stuck out her tongue. I saw a stranger next to the teacher, who was processing the admission procedures. As for whether it's a man or a woman, we can't say it now. We have to make a fuss about it. Yuan Tai and Guanyan were a bit dissatisfied, but without mentioning the class time, Bu-mei, they had no choice. At this moment, Hang Sheng's mind moved. New classmate. It's been a month since school started, where did a transfer student come from? Unless it's that person. The legendary Death God Elementary School student, Dead Fish Eye, named Detective Conan. Interesting. The airline student became excited. He originally liked peaceful days because he didn't have superpowers. Faced with representatives of the Black Organization and the Grim Reaper like Conan, ordinary people naturally had to avoid them. But now, he is not afraid of these at all. On the contrary, with the arrival of Conan, a dull life can bring more fun. Squeak. The door was pushed open, and everyone's eyes turned towards the door in unison. The teacher walked in and said with a smile, classmates, today we have a new classmate in our class who will become your new friend. Let's welcome him. Everyone's gaze once again turned towards the outside of the classroom, and Hang Sheng was no exception. The Grim Reaper Elementary School is about to appear. A little boy wearing glasses walked slowly into the classroom. Cut, seeing it was a boy, Yuan Tai and Guanyan immediately lost interest. What, I thought it was a little girl, I was so excited. Conan smiled awkwardly and greeted him with a very uncomfortable expression. Hello everyone, my name is Conan, Idagawa Conan. I just transferred to school today, so please give me more guidance in the future. Facing a group of young high school students who were about to turn 18, Conan felt uncomfortable all over. But he quickly regained his composure. After all, he was the man who had once stood in the spotlight. Conan's self-hypnosis. Just a bunch of little kids who don't understand anything, what's so embarrassing? There's nothing I can do to come here for school. Who let myself offend a fake liquor factory outside? At this moment, Dr. Agari's advice from yesterday was still echoing in his ears. Shinichi, you've become smaller now, but don't tell anyone you're Shinichi Kudo. If it's exposed, not only me, but also Xiaolan, your parents, and the people around you may have been poisoned by those people. You are now a child, and if you want to be inconspicuous, you have to go to school. After 10 years, returning to Didan Elementary School, Conan's heart was filled with emotions. But the Xiaodoubting people in the audience don't care about any awkwardness or awkwardness. Edo River. Conan. Someone muttered in a low voice, staring at Conan with a strange expression, and then burst out laughing. Then the whole class burst into laughter. Ha, this name is too funny. Ha ha ha. Ha ha. What a strange name. Hang Sheng also followed suit. He knew the origin of the name Idagawa Conan better than others. It was entirely the brainchild of Shinichi Kudo, Idagawa from the detective novelist Idagawa Rampage, and Conan from the great detective Conan Doyle. The combination of these two names must sound strange when pronounced. Adults may not ask much, but bear kids don't care about that. Faced with this situation, Conan was also extremely embarrassed. Who made the situation urgent at that time, and Xiaolan asked urgently, so he casually named it. But I didn't expect it to be so awkward when combined. Alright classmates, Conan is now your new classmate. You should take good care of him in the future, understand, the teacher said with a smile. Understood. The little bean cubes below responded in unison. Conan breathed a sigh of relief as the most difficult moment had finally passed. He walked off the podium and headed straight to the last row, sitting behind Yuan Tai and Guanyan. I didn't expect this world to be so small, Conan recognized at a glance. These three bear kids were the ones he met in the park the day before yesterday. Although I know they are elementary school students, there are several grades and classes in elementary school, and there are also several schools in this area. It's really fate that we can still meet after such a calculation. Returning to elementary school, Conan was originally quite excited, but soon regretted it. It's really boring to have classes with a group of kids. Listening to the teacher lecturing on the podium, Conan felt like hitting a wall. 9. Unexpected transfer student. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Classmates, you have 2 apples. I gave you one, and you gave your desk mate another. How many do you have left in total? The teacher asked cheerfully from the podium. 2. The little bean cubes below answered eagerly. Conan rolled his eyes helplessly. Such a stupid question is really boring. Suddenly, Yuan Tai in front of Conan raised his hand and loudly said, No, not a single apple. Not only was the teacher surprised now, but even Conan looked bewildered. Yuan Tai explained solemnly, I ate the apple in my hand, and I also ate the one you gave me. Ha ha ha. As soon as Yuan Tai finished speaking, the whole class burst into laughter. Yuan Tai, your idea is very creative, but there is still an apple left. You ate your own and what I gave, but 3.1.1, isn't there still one left? The teacher asked. That's for my friend, and I can't snatch it. He ate the apple, so of course it's gone, Yuan replied seriously. Great, Yuan Tai, you're right, and everyone's answer is also correct. Today's incident tells us that solving problems requires thinking from multiple perspectives. But don't answer like this during exams. The teacher waved his hand and said, otherwise, would give each of you a duck egg. Your parents will tell you how delicious the duck egg is. Conan silently roast. The consequence of duck eggs is to be beaten up, which is needless to say. Got it, teacher. Conan remained silent for a moment, feeling that elementary school life was not bad either, at least the children's hearts were still very pure. But he quickly gave up his thoughts and continued to lie on the table as a salted fish. At this moment, he casually looked up and found that the boy in front of Hang Sheng was already sleeping like a pig, fragrant, and even more miraculously, the teacher turned a blind eye. Hang Sheng didn't notice Conan's gaze at all. Since discovering his superpowers, he has never had the nightmare of a supersonic fryer again. When I woke up, I slept soundly. Moreover, since possessing superpowers, the mental state of aviation students has become increasingly lethargic. Perhaps this is the price of using superpowers. Soon, Hang Sheng spent a peaceful morning in his sleep. Hang Sheng, wake up, it's time for dinner. Bu Mei shook the sleeping Hang Sheng up, feeling a bit worried. Although aviation students often sleep, they are prone to nightmares. She had slept until noon like this for a year and had never seen it before as her desk mate. Is dinner ready? Hang Sheng wiped his saliva from the corner of his mouth and stretched lazily. You slept so comfortably. He hadn't slept so soundly in a long time. Hey, Conan, didn't you bring your bento? Guanyan asked curiously. After only one class, Conan became familiar with him, Yuan Tai, and Bu Mei. Haha. Conan awkwardly scratched his head, who knew he had to bring his own food. Usually, it's prepared by Xiaolan. But now Xiaolan is in high school, while he is in elementary school. In the morning, Dr. Ashikaga forgot about this and a tragedy occurred. Eat mine. Hang Sheng chuckled and wanted to conquer a man's heart, starting from his stomach. How embarrassing. Conan waved his hand as he was about to decline. Hang Sheng had already opened the bento box and saw a golden light shooting out from the food inside, almost blinding Conan's eyes. Non-luminous cuisine is not real cuisine. Master Lu Angxing's family reminder. Cooking does not emit light, causing tears in the eyes of loved ones. When the light dissipated, Conan regained his sight and saw that in the lunch box on the table, a golden egg fried rice in the shape of a pagoda was emitting an attractive fragrance. This delicacy is golden from head to toe, with each grain of rice wrapped in a uniform, soft and elastic egg mixture, with distinct grains. Gollum. Conan couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Alright, then, Hang Sheng's classmates treated me warmly, so I'm not polite. Conan, who was originally a bit embarrassed, couldn't resist the fragrance rushing towards him now. Not to mention Yuan Tai on the side, he had a bitter expression on his face. He smelled the aroma and looked at his boxed lunch, and suddenly let out a sigh. Hang Sheng's bento didn't have much to eat, so they barely had enough to eat. Although Yuan Tai is extremely greedy, he is not an unreasonable person. He silently opened his lunch box, which contained his favorite eel rice, but today's eel rice looked so unsightly. Yuan Tai dug a spoonful with grief and anger, sniffed the fragrance floating in the air with his nose, and then suddenly stuffed the rice from the spoon into his mouth. Yuan Tai squinted with intoxication, as if she were eating fried rice with golden eggs. Hang Sheng smiled and looked around, with Bu Mei and Guang Yan also pitifully staring at him. The fragrance was irresistible. Hey, is Tampaknia so exaggerated? Conan roused in his heart, but his hands didn't stop. At this moment, he is full of expectations. The golden egg fried rice in front of us is not so much food as art. Even Conan, who has eaten all kinds of delicious food and is knowledgeable, can't help but be moved by it. He carefully scooped a spoonful and slowly fed it into the mouth. As he chewed, Conan slowly closed his eyes. It feels like being in the sunshine, like a carefree little chick, running and playing happily. 10. A magical parallel world. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Then, an egg was laid. Egg laying. Conan suddenly woke up, his heart full of shock. He realized for the first time that besides solving cases, there are other beautiful things in life. That's food. Conan, how does it taste? Asked the airline curiously. He had already experienced the power of the delicious food-making machine, and that feeling was simply irresistible. But he wants to hear Conan speak in person. The food you eat and the food you share with others feel completely different. Conan, quickly share your thoughts. Bu Mei was also eager to try. The charm of food is something that few people can resist. Conan remained silent, but scooped another spoonful and put it in his mouth, slowly chewing and savoring it. What's going on? Yuan Tai was a bit unhappy, eating their delicious food without telling us how delicious it was. Conan, you're not interesting enough. The student stared at Conan expectantly, waiting to hear his comments on the chef Lu Angxing's fried rice with golden eggs. This time Conan ate more and chewed more delicately. He felt that in this egg-fried rice, in addition to the respective fragrance of rice and eggs, there was a special fragrance that perfectly integrated the two. It's like sesame oil, but there seems to be something else. Conan also felt that the rice used in this dish was harder than usual, more chewy, and the more he chewed, the more fragrant it became. More miraculously, Xiaolan used to make egg-fried rice for him, all of which were wrapped in eggs. But this dish of rice is wrapped in rice grains and egg liquid, and the eggs cannot be seen with the naked eye, yet they can be eaten with egg fragrance. That aroma stirred in the mouth, stimulating the taste buds and allowing people to taste more. Conan slowly opened his eyes and, under the expectant gaze of everyone, said slowly, "It's delicious, the eggs are especially fragrant." Cut. Everyone hissed. Conan couldn't help but blush a bit. Although he tasted 1,000 wonderful flavors worth savoring and praising, he didn't know how to express them for a moment. But Conan didn't know how to evaluate or describe this wonderful feeling for a moment. After listening to Conan's answer, Hang Sheng couldn't help but laugh. Conan's case solving is indeed top-notch, but his taste of food is really an outsider. However, Hang Sheng was also a little puzzled. It was clearly fried rice. Where did you get the eggs? He carefully examined the rice in the bento and didn't notice any eggs. Hang Sheng carefully scooped a spoonful and slowly put it into his mouth. That peculiar taste instantly filled the taste buds, as if I had become an unrestrained little chicken, running vigorously in the sunlight. And then, laid an egg. Hang Sheng suddenly opened his eyes, his face a bit strange. This golden fried rice really deserves its reputation. Lu Angxing deserves the name of kitchen god, and the food maker is 666. He didn't put any eggs, but he was able to stir-fry eggs with rice. No wonder he didn't see the eggs, but Conan ate eggs. But to be honest, this taste is simply amazing, it's on par with the morning cuisine. In the morning, I am the head of the household, and at noon, Lu Angxing. These days are so beautiful that they are beyond words. Even if there is a grim reaper sitting across from him, we have to give him a big bowl first. This egg-fried rice is just so-so. Maybe it's too salty because of too much salt. Hang Sheng pretended to disdain and snorted. Conan is a bit depressed. How can such a delicious meal be said to be average? But he caught a glimpse of Hang Sheng blinking and immediately understood. That's right, why did the eggs taste strange just now? Conan quickly agreed. Bu Mei, Yuan Tai, and Guang Yan looked disappointed. This meal smells so delicious, I didn't expect it to be not delicious. It really blinded their expectations. The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. But the clever Guang Yan quickly realized something was wrong. If you two think the taste is average, why are you eating so fast? Hang Sheng and Conan looked at each other, and then went all out to grab the golden egg fried rice from the bento. Too much. Yuan Tai's face turned red with anger, her fists clenched tightly and trembling. He has seen through that these two guys are playing with him. The egg fried rice is very delicious. He raised his spoon high and rushed straight into the battle circle. Guanyan followed closely behind. Bumeiben hesitated a bit, but seeing the intoxicated expressions of others, she couldn't help but be reserved. With a mouthful of egg fried rice, happiness also comes. Mom, I want to eat egg fried rice. Bumei shouted. Hang Sheng responded reflexively, eat large portions. Is one serving enough? But he quickly realized and changed his mind. Let's have a meal at home after school. Okay, the three of them responded in unison. Yuan Tai rushed over and hugged Hang Sheng excitedly. I won't eat eel rice anymore, it's really unpleasant. Conan also smiled pleasantly. The power of food is too powerful to resist even the Grim Reaper. The afternoon passed leisurely, and Hang Sheng still lay comfortably on the table, snoring soundly. If you ignore staring at his 4 pairs of eyes, it would be even more perfect. Why haven't we finished school yet? Bumei, Guangyan, Yuan Tai, and Conan looked at their watches neatly, and then their eyes glued back to the sleeping Hang Sheng. Nothing can make Hang Sheng run away. The 4 of them muttered silently, staring and licking their lips. This golden egg fried rice is really delicious. After an unknown amount of time, the class bell rang and Hang Sheng woke up in the midst of it. He stood up slowly, about to stretch out, but was startled by the sight in front of him.